Hello, and welcome to another episode of Retrospective Gaming. In this episode, I am reviewing Deus Ex. I've gotten so many requests to review this game, and I'm happy to finally upload it. Someone told me that whenever someone mentions Deus Ex, people reinstall the game. That's how good it is. And, just a warning, there are spoilers in this video. Here is my review of Deus Ex. The story in Deus Ex starts off in the year 2052. The world of Deus Ex is dystopian, it's futuristic, it's cyberpunk, bleak. Your character is called JC Denton. JC is unique. Him and his brother Paul are enhanced by nanotechnology. You work for UNATCO, the United Nations Anti-Terrorist Coalition. Their headquarters is in New York. Now, there is a global epidemic called Gray Plague. People are dying left and right. Only important people are getting the cure. It's called ambrosia, but average people are dying all over the world. And the NSF, the National Secessionist Forces, have taken matters into their own hands. They think the cure, ambrosia, is being blocked off by people behind the scenes, so they are doing whatever they can in order to get their hands on ambrosia, and UNATCO considers the NSF a terrorist group. Now, where do you fit in? In the beginning, you are just an agent. You and your brother Paul Denton work for UNATCO, and you're just carrying out your task, dealing with terrorists and trying to get your hands on the ambrosia they stole. But something happens. As you progress through the game, you find out that your brother actually switched sides and joined the NSF. When you confront him, he tells you that UNATCO has been lying to you all along, that they are not the good guys that they pretend to be. They are hiding something, and there is a conspiracy going on, and he wants you to reconsider your affiliation with UNATCO. But that's only the beginning of your problems. There's more to it. You end up being captured by Majestic 12, a secret organization, and UNATCO now considers you a terrorist, and your kill switch has been activated, so you only have a limited amount of time to figure out what's going on. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Who are the puppet masters behind the scenes? What is this grand conspiracy that's going on? Well, it's up to you to find out. And that is all I'm going to spoil. Now, what are my opinions on the story? Right from the start, I was hooked. The story in Deus Ex, it's immersive, it's suspenseful, and JC Denton's story, the character you play as, he's very interesting. He's a part of something that is way bigger than himself, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, and you just want to know what happens next. I stayed up late at night playing this game, even though I had to work early in the morning. One of the things that you have to have if you want a great story is great dialogue, and especially in an RPG, you need characters that react to each other. You need a fleshed out world with interesting main and side quests to keep the player going. You need characters that have deep and rich conversations. There is a lot to Deus Ex: political themes, conspiracies, historical references, augmentations, and more. And Deus Ex, in my opinion, does a great job of getting you hooked right from the beginning. I'm gonna show you a conversation between JC Denton and an NSF terrorist leader right in the beginning of the game, and this was a great conversation. I will show you that now.
Don't shoot. I surrender.
So you think you know better than FEMA what to do with this month's ambrosia shipment?
You're too late. It's on its way back to the people, and you can't do a damn thing about it.
Tell me about the shipment, and I'll order the troops to pick you up as a prisoner instead of a corpse.
Ask away. We already won this round.
Where are you taking it?
We're just giving ordinary people the same chance to survive as the bureaucrats in Washington.
You'll have to unload in New York because the choppers would spot you at sea.
I think the government made the plague on purpose to get rid of the population growth.
Just answer the question.
Don't believe me? It's all in the numbers. For 100 years, there's been a conspiracy of plutocrats against ordinary people.
You have a single fact to back that up.
Number one, in 1945, corporations paid 50% of federal taxes. Now they pay about 5%. Number two, in 1900, 90% of Americans were self-employed. Now it's about 2%.
So?
It's called consolidation. Strengthen governments and corporations, weaken individuals. With taxes, this can be done imperceptibly over time.
The chief finally let us...
I guarantee you that the interrogation staff at UNATCO will not be as forbearing as I am.
Yeah, the secret police. You're just bullies for a completely illegitimate government in Washington.
We will locate that shipment one way or another.
The entire executive branch is handpicked. 19 of the last 23 U.S. presidents have been members of the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is financed by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Don't tell me.
That's a think tank. Anyone can become a member.
But not everyone does. That's why they call it the secret government. You can't fight ideas with bullets.
Deus Ex is an action RPG, and it gives you freedom. There are different ways you can handle each mission, and I'll get into that later when we talk about gameplay. But story-wise, you can handle things differently. For example, you can refuse to shoot someone even though UNATCO orders you to, and people react to the choices you make. For example, Sam Carter is in charge of the armory at UNATCO, and he is a legend. JC Denton looks up to him. And if you go in guns blazing and you have a very militant and aggressive approach to the way you handle missions, Sam looks down on that. Sam Carter believes that UNATCO are peacekeepers, and your actions can affect the type of weapons and items he gives you for your missions. So Deus Ex gives you the freedom to have different choices, different outcomes for the story, and it's not an illusion of choice. Some games do that. They give you choices, they let you do stuff, but ultimately it leads you down a narrow path, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't really like that most of the time. But fortunately, Deus Ex does not do that. This game has different endings depending on the choices you make, and the build up to these endings, and the climax, the finale. I enjoyed them and I was not disappointed. Now, another thing that I enjoyed about Deus Ex was the historical references and the talk about conspiracies. For someone like me, I like history and I like reading about certain events in history, different time periods, etc. And I like looking up conspiracies. Whether they are true or not, it's interesting and it's fun to me. And I'm right at home with Deus Ex. The talk about Majestic 12, the Bilderberg Group, the Men in Black, Area 51, aliens, etc. And the historical references when you talk to certain people and they talk about history and their take on what happened, and some of the logins. When you go into terminals, some of the passwords and usernames are people from history, like Napoleon and Michael Collins. That's some of the examples. Now I'm sure all of you know who Napoleon is, but some of you might not know who Michael Collins is since he's not as famous. Michael Collins was the leader of the Irish independence movement, and he was in charge of the provisional government, and I'm sure he had some ties to the Irish Republican Army way back in the day. I'm talking about early 1900s, and he was assassinated. You see, I've been getting comments on some of my videos saying that I'm stupid. Now you know, I'm not as stupid as you think, motherfuckers. Don't mistake my slang and my East Coast accent for me being a dummy. I'm smarter than some of you might think. I'm just fucking around. I don't give a damn if someone calls me stupid. Who gives a fuck? Now, I enjoyed the story in Deus Ex. I think it's immersive and it had me hooked from beginning to end. But I do have a minor issue with the story. I think some levels in the game are unnecessary and it makes the game a bit too long. Just a bit though. For example, the Majestic 12 helibase in Hong Kong. Right when you get to Hong Kong, before you go out into the city, you get stuck in a helibase, and I think that level was unnecessary, and that's a minor issue. Overall, I really enjoyed the story. Now, let's talk about gameplay. Deus Ex is an action RPG, and it's semi-open world. I say that because in some levels like New York, Hong Kong, and Paris, there are side quests and main quests, and it's an open area where you can do different things, but it's not a fully open world game. When you complete missions or you explore the area, find hidden passages, things like that, you get points, and with these points you can upgrade your skills. You don't level up in this game. You don't go to level 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You improve your character by upgrading skills and using augmentations. These are the skills: weapons heavy, weapons pistol, weapons rifle, weapons low tech, weapons demolition, environmental training, lockpicking, electronics, medicine, computer, and swimming. Now, another way to improve your character in Deus Ex is with augmentations. You can find canisters throughout the game, and you use these to improve your character permanently. Once you use an augmentation, you can't take it out. You can also upgrade these augmentations by finding upgrade canisters. Augmentations can help you with your melee attacks. They make them stronger. They can make you faster. They can make you lift really heavy objects. They can make you invisible for a while, and things like that. There are several different augmentations you can use to improve your character. Now, in Deus Ex, there are several different ways to do missions. You can be stealthy, you can rely on your hacking skills or your lockpicking skills, or you can just go in guns blazing, kill everything, ask questions later, and go from there. Deus Ex does a really good job in giving you the freedom to pursue a mission the way you want. There are plenty of events you can go into, there are plenty of places you can lockpick, plenty of keypads that you can try to find a code to so you can get inside the room. Deus Ex rewards exploration, so I encourage you to try to find all the data pads, try to find the ATM codes, just try to find more background information about the world you're in. This game is worth exploring. And I also have to say, this game gave me a challenge. It's not the hardest game to me, it's not extremely hard or frustrating, but it gave me a good challenge and I'm satisfied with it. Some of the areas were very suspenseful. For example, the Majestic 12 secret base. When you're captured and you have to try to find a way out of that base, it's definitely an experience. I was sneaking around and I was trying to find my weapons and trying to find something else, and it was tough because I could not get caught. I barely had anything on me. I had a baton and there's these fucking robots just sitting there waiting to kill me, so I have to sneak around and not get caught and try to get inside, get my weapons, disable the robots, and try to find a way out this secret base, not knowing what the fuck's going on. So it was pretty fun. Now, I do have some issues with the gameplay. I think there should have been a bit more side quests, and the AI can be stupid in some parts. It wasn't a huge problem, the game did give me a challenge, but sometimes the AI were just flat out fucking stupid. They would just run around trying to figure out where I am, even though I'm right next to them and I'm not in a stealthy position or in the shadows. Or sometimes all I had to do to get them off my back was to close a door, even though I'm standing right in front of a window. It's not a huge problem. There are some issues though. But overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay in Deus Ex. Now, let's move on to sound and atmosphere. Deus Ex is set in a cyberpunk, dystopian, futuristic world, and when you talk to people like Anna or Gunther, or you see JC Denton himself, and you see how the augmentations affect their appearance and how they talk, it's really interesting. We don't get that many cyberpunk games. It's not like medieval fantasy where we see a medieval fantasy game getting pumped out every 6 months. So Deus Ex's setting is interesting. I'm not that familiar with cyberpunk, so the setting is really refreshing to me. Deus Ex is a bleak game. When you're in one of the cities, whether it's New York, Hong Kong, or Paris, it's very dark, and you get that feeling that anything bad can happen at any time. You can see soldiers fighting people, you can see a pimp trying to beat up one of his prostitutes, and more. You see a bunch of crazy stuff. Deus Ex has a great immersive atmosphere, and what also really helps this is not only being in the cities, but being in vents, being in sewers, being in buildings. I'll give you an example. I was doing a mission in New York. There was a hostage situation in the subway, so I decided to try to take the stealth approach and crawl through a vent. As I'm crawling through this vent, it's pitch black, and I'm just trying to figure out where to go, and when I finally find another vent to open so I can get out, I'm surrounded by enemies, so I'm just sitting there in a corner, just watching them walk by, trying to pick the perfect time to take out as many as possible before they shoot me, or just crawl out the vent completely and just try to take them all out and hope for the best. Now, another area where Deus Ex excels is sound. The voice acting is great, and when you talk to people that are nano-augmented like Gunther, Anna, Walton, JC, and Paul, you hear the lack of emotion in their voices, and it's consistent, so I didn't have a problem with the voice acting. There are some voices here and there, like one of the NPCs in the Ton Hotel. He was one of the thugs, I don't remember his name, and some others, but overall the voice acting is great. And I'm going to say this about JC. He don't give a fuck. He is the king of one-liners. The soundtrack in Deus Ex is one of the best soundtracks in video game history. The main theme, we all know it, I can listen to it 1,000 times, but the whole soundtrack is consistent and it's very gritty. It's hard to pick which song is my favorite. I like the whole soundtrack. I'll just list a couple of songs that I really like. The main theme, the Paris Cathedral theme, the theme that plays when you're walking the streets of Hong Kong, and the UNACO theme. I'm not good at describing music, so I'll tell you one thing. Listen to the music in this game. You'll thank me later. Now, the weakest thing about the atmosphere in Deus Ex are the graphics. It's not terrible, but you can definitely see its age. When you talk to people and you see their lips moving and they're talking to each other, it looks kind of goofy, but I was not bothered by the graphics. As far as bugs go, I didn't experience many bugs. My game crashed a couple of times, and one time my game started glitching out, but other than that, the bugs were very minor. It did not get in my way. Now, I've said a lot of stuff about this game, but do I recommend it? Yes, I do. Hell yes. Fuck yeah, you should play this game. If you haven't played it yet, what are you waiting for? Any laptop, any desktop can run this, I guarantee it. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this. You can leave a comment if you want. You can message me on Twitter. You know how to get into contact with me. Have a great day.